585, 234, 5, 10, 15. There are a lot of numbers when you talk about infant sleep. Exact timings, perfect schedules. Most parents meet those rules when they're already tired, overwhelmed, and just looking for something that feels solid to hold on to it. And these rules promise something very appealing: better sleep quickly. But the question we rarely stop to ask is, at what cost? I'm Marina Friend, a child and infant sleep specialist. And on this channel, we don't start with rules or rigid methods. We start by understanding a baby's sleep language before trying to intervene, because the sleep only makes sense when it's read in context. Sleep rules are attractive because they simplify something that feels chaotic. They suggest that if you get the timing right, sleep will simply fall into place, as if babies were machines, as if sleep were a mathematical equation. And to be clear, for some babies, a more structured approach can be helpful. But science tells us something important here. When rules are applied rigidly, without reading the baby, they can create more struggle, not less. Many families follow the rules carefully, sometimes perfectly, and yet bedtime is still hard. Night wakings still happen, crying still appears. That's usually when parents begin to doubt themselves, not because they're inconsistent, not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're watching the clock more than watching the baby. Sleep is not a mechanical process. A baby doesn't experience time the way adults do. They don't know it has been 2 hours and 45 minutes, but they do experience overstimulation, undertiredness, hunger, discomfort, emotional overload, the need for connection. And these signals don't always fit neatly into schedules. This is where a lot of sleep advice becomes misleading. Many approaches focus on behavioral compliance, whether is a baby quiet, still, or asleep. But neuroscience makes a clear distinction between behavior and regulation. A baby can be quiet and still be in a state of high psychological stress. Silence does not necessarily mean calm. True regulation looks different. It shows up when a baby is awake, curious, engaged, developing well. And during sleep, through a relaxed body, a steady breathing, and the ability to move between sleep cycles without distress. And regulation doesn't develop in isolation. It develops in relationship. Infant brains are immature by design. Babies are not born with the ability to self-regulate fully. They rely on caregivers to help regulate stress, emotions, and arousal. This process is known as co-regulation and is well established in developmental science. Over time, through repeated experiences of being responded to, the baby's nervous system internalizes those patterns. That's how self-regulation develops. Not through absence, not through forcing independence before the system is ready. We often hear that babies need to be taught independence, but autonomy doesn't grow from being left alone. It grows from feeling safe. A baby becomes more independent when their nervous system learns, I'm safe. My needs will be met. I don't have to stay alert to survive. That sense of safety allows the brain to let go. In this sense, sleep autonomy isn't something we teach, it's something we build together. This is why I teach sleep language. When parents shift their focus from rigid rules to observation, sleep often becomes calmer. Not because the baby suddenly changed, but because the response did. Predictability, routine, and structure still matter, but they are built consciously in response to the baby in front of us, not generic rules that ignore individuality. Routine matters, rigidity doesn't. And I want to be very clear about this. Routine does matter. Babies need predictability. They need to know what comes next. But predictability doesn't come from rigid schedules that ignore the baby in front of us. It comes from consistent sequences, familiar cues, and responsive caregiving. Routine is not about exact minutes on the clock. It's about rhythm. When routine supports a baby's biology, it helps the nervous system feel safe. When routine overrides biology, it often creates more struggle. This is why I don't work without structure, but I also don't work with structure that can't bend when the baby needs it to. A science-based approach does not mean forcing independence, ignoring distress, fitting babies into rigid boxes. It means listening to the individual baby, respecting development, supporting regulation fast, adjusting gently and responsively, and understanding that connection supports sleep rather than undermines it. This is the foundation of my work. I don't teach parents to fight biology. I help them understand it. I don't work from rigid schedules. I work from sleep language, observing, interpreting, and responding to the baby in front of us. Because babies are not machines. Sleep isn't maths. It's biology, and biology varies. If sleep rules have left you feeling confused or inadequate, you're not failing. You might simply be listening to the wrong signals. Sometimes what sleep needs isn't another rule, but more attention to the baby and less attention to the clock. And when we do that, sleep often finds its way, gently, respectfully, and in time. If you're tired of rigid rules and want to truly understand your baby, stay here. This space is for families who want to sleep better without compromising connection.